Hi everyone, welcome again to another session of Learning Together. I am Christian and this is Remedial Instruction in English. In today's session, we are going to learn about remedial instruction in listening. According to Manzano of 2015, listening is the most neglected skill yet most used in the communication process. Aminin na natin that all of us have had this formal training to the rest of the macro skills when we were still elementary, high school, until now in college. We have had instruction in reading, writing, and speaking. But few to none of us had this instruction or formal training when it comes to listening. Yet, most of us spend 7 of every 10 minutes of our waking time in some form of communication activity. One of these 7 minutes, or the 70% of the time we are awake, 10% is spent in writing, 15% in reading, 30% in talking or speaking, and 45% in listening. Based on these figures, we can infer that we spend nearly half of our communication time listening. But few of us make any real effort to be a better listener. And maybe you will ask, what is this listening thing and why are we spending too much of our time in listening? According to scalesthatyounneed.com, listening is the ability to accurately receive and interpret messages in the communication process. Okay, meaning to say that listening is more than merely hearing words. Listening is an active process by which students receive, construct meaning from, and respond to spoken or nonverbal messages. That's according to Emert of 1994. As such, or based on those, it forms an integral part of the communication process and should not be separated from the other language arts subject. However, there are some factors that could affect the listening comprehension of the students. These are the external factors, which are the type of language input and task, and the context in which listening occurs, or it could be internal factors, meaning to say that resides on the individual himself, the learner's characteristics, the language proficiency, the psychological and physiological factors that would somehow affect his or her listening comprehension. Now let's go deeper on what are those external factors and the internal factors that could affect the listening comprehension of the child. Let's have first the internal factors. Okay, we have the first one, problems in language proficiency. We already know that our students are diverse and they came from different culture, different language origin. Somehow we should consider that one that may more or less they have this different language proficiency level. So as a teacher, we need to determine each student language proficiency level for us to really remediate their listening comprehension. And then next one is the poor background and knowledge. So in the teaching and learning process, especially when teaching English, we should activate background knowledge. We should teach according to the schema of the child. So when we are introducing a new topic, it should be related to the previous one, or we should have an activity that would somehow stimulate or activate their previous knowledge. And then lack motivation to listen. This is very important because we cannot concentrate to something else if we are not motivated to do it. So as a teacher, we must think of all the ways for our students to be motivated to be in class. So have an engaging activities, provide games that would somehow arouse their interest to the subject matter. Okay, the next factor is we have the psychological and or physiological factors. We cannot avoid that our students, when they are in class, they have these problems and then they are not feeling well. So before we will start our class, we should be asking our students, how are you? Are you ready for the class? In order for them to have this, to be in focus to the subject matter or in class, for them to have focus. So it is a must for us to know our students well. And some other internal factors that are not mentioned here. When we say internal factors, that resides on the students himself. And let's proceed to the external factors. Okay. First one is the speed and accent. Why is it a factor in acquiring or having this comprehension skill deficit? Okay, so when we say speed and accent, speed refers to the speech rate. There are cases nga possible that they did not understand you as a teacher because you have this when you talk in class, you are too fast or too slow that they become bored. So it is a must that you have to develop this normal speaking speed in order to cater the students, the slow learners, because there are cases the teachers really speak fast. So I think it's me, I speak fast. So we have to consider that as well, that we should develop this normal speeding or normal speech rate, no, because we are not broadcasters here, we are teachers. So when we discuss something else, it should be on the pacing of the student. And of course we should develop this proper accent, because accent would always affect the meaning of the words. Alright, next one is the content. More or less, the content or the subject matter itself. It is hard, difficult. The subject matter is difficult, and then they will. That's why they will not. They cannot understand it thoroughly because it has this difficulty level. So in as much as possible, since we already determined the level of our students when it comes to language, whenever there is this a difficult content, as much as possible as teacher, it is our job to make it easy. And that's when the context that could refer to the situation where the language is being used. The meaning of a certain word will not be the same if the word will be used in a different situation. Context is another major factor influencing the interpretation of meaning. It refers to the linguistic context or the textual environment provided by the discourse in which a particular utterance occurs. Context constrains in a way in which we interpret the response. Okay, so the question now is, how are we going to improve listening? How are we going to improve the students' listening comprehension? So these are the suggested ways in order for us to improve the students' listening comprehension. First one is we have to teach pronunciation, stress, and intonation. Now, stress is very important when it comes to language learning because stress helps the listener to understand the speech with greater emphasis. And then pronunciation, that's the same with pronunciation as well. Pronunciation would always affect the meaning of the word. If you mispronounce a word, that would lead you to another meaning. And of course, we need to teach intonation of the critical sounds of English. And intonation has a lot of function we should bear in mind. So the first function of intonation is we have the first one here, grammatical function. When we say, okay, we have the first one here, grammatical function. Intonation signals between a statement and a question. Alright, so having this proper intonation, the students can determine whether you are stating facts or you are asking another information. So that's a grammatical function. Next one is accentual function, that it can be used to emphasize or to draw attention. So it happens when we introduce new information or idea. So there is a shift now between accents. Okay. And the third one is the attitudinal or the emotional function of intonation. Wherein, when you have this intonation when you are speaking, that adds additional information about the speaker's mood or feelings about the subject matter or the mood of the speaker during the speech occasion. And then the fourth one is the psychological function of intonation. It makes the ideas to easily understand, memorize, and say. And then the last one is indexical function. When we say indexical function, your intonation would somehow signals your personal and social identity as a speaker. Next one is practice sound discrimination. Again, practice sound discrimination, as what I have said, for the critical sounds of English. Liaison means the linking of sounds or words. When we say a sentence in English, we join or link words to each other. So more or less, that's the function of putting words together in a sentence. Because of this linking, the words in a sentence do not always sound the same as when we say them individually. Linking is very important in English. If we recognize and use linking or liaison, two things will happen. First one, we will understand other people more easily, and other people will understand us more easily. That we have to take note that the important thing in linking or in this liaison thing is the sound, not the letters. Okay, so you have to put that in mind. Next one, recognize stressed and unstressed words. Again, we should be teaching the students proper stressing of words, because we having this one, it could contribute to the meaning of the word. And then enrich vocabulary. So what are the things that we need to do for the students to expand their vocabulary? We could ask them to develop this reading habit, and then we ask them to use dictionary every time. This is the thesaurus. And then this one, if they are into playing, we have to have them the word plays, to play word games, wordscape. That's quite. We have the applications on cell phones, and the generation of students today are fond in doing mobile or online games. So there are a lot of word plays online. Or we should be having this flashcard. And then the most common thing is we let them watch movies, English movies. Okay, that would somehow one of the strategies to acquire vocabulary. Next is we should teach them grammar. Why we should teach our students grammar? Okay, the structure in formal grammar provide extra clues to the meaning of the sentences. Okay, context clues, which can help overcome problems caused by accents and mistakes of pronunciation. So learning grammar helps us in understanding the usage of the words. Okay, next thing, practice inferring information not directly stated. When we say inference, that is the act or process of reaching a conclusion about something from a known fact, and then that in case will improve their skills in predicting. And of course, you have to teach note-taking strategies. There are a lot of note-taking methods and strategies that I will be linking in this video as well, for you to know what are the effective methods when it comes to note-taking. Alright? Or those are the things that we need to remember when we want to improve the students' listening comprehension. I hope to see you soon in our next video. Thank you.